Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Diana. If you're new here, if you're not new, welcome back. Today's video is going to be very fun, in my opinion. I wanted to do a very chill and kind of like a conversational video today, sharing the books that I read in January. I only read 5 books and they were all fiction except one, actually. So 1 nonfiction, 4 fiction books, and they were all really good. So I'm excited to share them all with you. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm actually thinking of doing these videos probably monthly, depending on how many books I actually read in a month. Like, I don't want to share a video if I just read 1 book in 1 month, but I read such good books this month, or in January, so I figured it would be tragic for me to not share these amazing books. They were all really good. They all kept me on my toes, so yeah. I might be sneaking a few peeks at my phone for Goodreads so that I could read you guys my reviews. Let's start off with the nonfiction book. The nonfiction book that I read in January was a book by Steven Pressfield. I love Steven Pressfield. If you guys are artists, creatives, I highly recommend reading all of his books. So you guys probably know his novel, War of Art. It's amazing. It talks a lot about resistance and what's holding you back from fulfilling your fullest potential and doing the things that you want to do. So that book really did change my life. So I decided to pick up a couple of other books by him. I have like 1 more, I think, by him that I have not yet read, but I read this one in January and it was honestly really, really good. I know a lot of people say that he's like repetitive, and I don't know, I feel like he says more in 100 words than some people do in like 2,000 words. Personally, I thought this book was so freaking good. I literally sat curled up on the couch right over there and read this whole book in 1 sitting, and I highlighted so many things. I got so much out of this book. I feel like I realized how little I know myself while reading this book, and I also felt like I realized that I'm not alone, if that makes sense. Like, this book talks a lot about how all creatives struggle and all creatives kind of like feel like they're alone along their journey, and I don't know, this book really just made me feel like I'm not the only one that has struggled within my creative career. And he talks a lot about discovering your true... Sorry, there's someone doing something weird outside. Anyways, he talks a lot about discovering your true calling and finding your true authentic self, which I thought was so good and so inspirational. It actually motivated me to look into more books on kind of like getting in touch with yourself and discovering who you are and all of these things. But anyways, highly recommend picking this book up if you are a creative, if you are an artist or interested in writing or any of those kind of things. It's a 5 out of 5. It's really good. I highly recommend it. I had very mixed emotions about this next book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. I read it on my Kindle, so I'm just going to read the review from my phone. It's called Wish You Were Here by JODI PICOULT. I believe this was one of the very first books that was written and published kind of like during the pandemic situation. So normally I would not read a book like this because I want to escape life. I don't want to, when I read, I want to escape. I don't want to feel like I'm reading and experiencing the same thing, if that makes sense. I don't know. But anyways, so okay, the book was good, but I felt like it was just like kind of dragging on throughout the entire time. It had a lot of, actually I should probably tell you what this book is about. Sorry. Okay, this book is about a woman named Diana, I forgot about that. Diana O'Toole. She's perfectly on track with her life. She's gonna be married by 30, done having kids by 35, and she's gonna move out of New York City into the suburbs, all while climbing the professional ladder in the cutthroat art auction world. She's not engaged just yet, but she knows her boyfriend Finn is going to propose, and he's a surgical resident, and they're going on this romantic getaway to the Galapagos a few days before her 30th birthday, right on time. So everything is like right on time, but then a virus that felt worlds away has appeared into the city on the eve of their departure. So Finn basically tells her that she should go because they can't get a refund for their vacation, and he needs to stay since he works in a hospital. And so reluctantly she goes almost immediately. Her dream vacation goes like awry, and the whole island is under quarantine, and she's stranded until the borders reopen. Completely isolated, she must venture beyond her comfort zone. Slowly she carves out a connection with the local family when a teenager with a secret opens up to Diana despite her father's suspicion of outsiders. Diana finds herself examining her relationships, her choices, and herself, and wondering if once she goes home, she too will have evolved into a completely different person. So it was interesting enough to keep me hooked and to finish the book, but I just felt like I was just trying to get through it, and I felt like because I paid for it, I didn't want to waste it, so I felt like I had to finish it. And it honestly took me so long to read. It probably took me like almost 2 weeks to finish because I was literally like, I was just like, is this gonna end? It felt like they described the island a lot, which was kind of nice. Like, I enjoyed learning about what the Galapagos looks like, but I was kind of like, I'm over this. Like, let's get to the main part of this. So then when the time came to when I was like, all right, I'm gonna give up on this, there was this huge, massive twist that happened, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I just did not expect it at all. It came out of nowhere, and I was like, what the actual heck? So I felt like once that twist happened, I was like, I have to finish this book and see how it ends. So that's kind of like the climax is what kept me going, if that makes sense. Let me read you my review. So I wrote, some parts were interesting, some just didn't make sense. It felt like Diana was trying to grasp at some hidden meaning that just wasn't there. It also felt like the author escalated COVID to something it wasn't, which is true. Like, I felt like the way that they talked about COVID was like, what is going on here? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people might disagree with me, but I just did not like this book. I thought the climax was interesting, but that's it. And the writing was good. Like, the writing itself was actually good. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that novel. Moving on to the 3 books that I absolutely loved this month. These were phenomenal. So first off, I want to talk about this book, which came in my book of the month a while ago, but it's called Not a Happy Family. I read this over the weekend and it was amazing. It's such a good thriller. It literally keeps you on your toes the entire time, and I really like how the book takes course over a couple of days, I think. It's not like a year or whatever. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it just felt like everything was happening really fast, which I really liked. I want to tell you guys what it's about and read you my review on Goodreads. By the way, if you're not following me on Goodreads, follow me. Alright, so first off, I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and let me tell you what it is about. In this family, everyone is keeping secrets, especially the dead. Brecon Hill in upstate New York is an expensive place to live. You have to be rich to have a house there, and they don't come much richer than Fred and Sheila Merton. But even all their money can't protect them when a killer comes to call. The Mertons are brutally murdered the night after an Easter dinner with their 3 adult kids, who of course are devastated. Or are they? They each stand to inherit millions. They were never a happy family thanks to their capricious father and neglectful mother. But perhaps one of them is even more disturbed than anyone knew. Did one of them snap after that dreadful evening? Or was it someone else that night who crept in with the worst of intentions? It must be. After all, if one of your siblings was a psychopath, you'd know, wouldn't you? Like I mentioned, the book was an amazing thriller. It kept me hooked the entire time. I literally started it on a Friday, woke up early Saturday morning, and went straight to reading it because it was that good. My review was super short. A fantastic thriller, well written, and kept me wondering who the murderer was the entire time, because you really don't know until the very end, which is also what I thought was pretty cool. Like, you think that it's this sibling, and then you think it's this sibling, and then you think it's the maid, and then you think like it's probably somebody completely different. So definitely a very interesting book. If you are feeling like you're in a reading slump, I highly recommend picking this book up because it will get you out of your slump. Next, let's do a little non-thriller. This book. I pre-ordered this book months in advance. Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. And I read it quite fast, might I add. Let me read to you what it is about in my review. I have to say, like, I always love Colleen Hoover books. I don't think there are very many that I disliked at all. I think she's an incredible author. So let me read what it is about. A troubled young mother yearns for a shot at redemption in this heartbreaking yet hopeful story from best-selling author Colleen Hoover. After serving 5 years in prison for a tragic mistake, Kenna Rowan returns to the town where it all went wrong, hoping to reunite with her 4-year-old daughter, but the bridges Kenna burned are proving impossible to rebuild. Everyone in her daughter's life is determined to shut Kenna out, no matter how hard she works to prove herself. The only person who hasn't closed the door on her completely is Ledger Ward, a local bar owner and one of the few remaining links to Kenna's daughter. But if anyone were to discover how Ledger is slowly becoming an important part of Kenna's life, both would risk losing the trust of everyone important to them. Something that I really love about Colleen Hoover is how she's able to pull at your heartstrings with stories that you wouldn't think are like over the top. Like her story plots are quite simple, but she's able to somehow like get into your head and make you feel this bond and this connection to the characters, which is what I really like about her writing. There were several occasions throughout this novel where I was like tearing up and getting really emotional, and it also kind of, it's almost like she has this like deep understanding of relationships and being empathetic and like all of this stuff, because I feel like whenever I read one of her books I always get something out of it. So that's how I felt with this book. But anyways, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. That's how much I loved it. I loved every precious moment of this book. It was so genuine and I felt all the emotions. I definitely cried at the end, and I absolutely loved the ending. It was so good. Which, yes, I absolutely loved the ending. I felt like it was actually perfect. I feel like if any other writer was to have created this novel, they would have had a very different ending than the one that was in this book. And I'm really happy about how things ended off with this book. So if you're looking for something a little more like non-thrillery and even maybe like a little bit romantic but kind of sad, I highly recommend picking this book up. It's super good. Okay, last but not least, you guys, this book was phenomenal. Absolutely 110% phenomenal. This book is called When She Returned by Lucinda Berry. As you guys know, Lucinda Berry is one of my new favorite authors. If you watched my last book recommendation video, I talked about all of the books that I was reading by her, including The Perfect Child, which is, I'm just looking at it over there, but it is one of my favorite books of all time. And this book was insane. So I read this book last weekend, I believe, and I was trying to read the new novel that Liane Moriarty came out with, and I could not get into it, and I was having a really bad day. So I was like, let me try this thriller and hopefully it'll hook me enough to the point of like where I'll actually want to read. And that's exactly what this book did. I could not put it down. I read it over the weekend, finished it right away. Let me read what it is about. I cannot stress this enough. This book was so good. It was just so good. Okay. One woman's reappearance throws her family into turmoil, exposing dark secrets and the hidden, often devastating truth of family relationships. Kate Bennett vanished from a parking lot 11 years ago, leaving behind her husband and young daughter. When she shows up at a Montana gas station clutching an infant and screaming for help, investigators believe she may have been abducted by a cult. Kate's return flips her family's world upside down. Her husband is remarried and her daughter barely remembers her. Kate herself doesn't look or act like she did before. While the family tries to help Kate reintegrate into society, they discover truths they've been hiding from each other about their relationships. the best way to describe this book, I feel like that wasn't like that good of a description actually, but basically the story is about this woman. Her name is Kate. She is married to her high school sweetheart. She's known him since she was like 9 years old. They get married. She's a journalist, and she like takes time off for her maternity leave. She's like not working, and then eventually she starts like picking up assignments here and there while being a mom. And she talks a lot about her life as a mom and how she loves being a mom, but she also loves her job. So she gets this job assignment for to do like a article on this a cult essentially that is in town. And she starts like going to their meetings, and she starts like talking to the main guy there and like this and that, and then eventually she goes to Target. She goes to Target. That's like a really bad like what is that called, whatever. She goes to Target, and then all of a sudden she vanishes, and nobody knows what the heck happened to her. Her husband was devastated for, I think she was gone for like 13 years, and he's devastated, and he refuses to believe that like she's gone and this and that. And then 10 or 12 years later, whatever, he ends up remarrying this woman who he met at like a support group or whatever, and she moves in, this and that, whatever, and they end up declaring his wife Kate dead. So then she shows up at that Montana gas station, and she tells them her name, and she ends up going back to his house with his new wife there, and her child and their previous child, and they have like the FBI there, and they're trying to figure out what happened to her over the last like 13 years or whatever. And the story is very interesting because it bounces from 13 years ago to today, to the present moment. What I thought was so good was the twist, and I'm not gonna share it, but I literally told my best friend about it. I feel like I told my mom about it, and I told my boyfriend about it. Like, I could not stop talking about this book. It was so freaking good. You're not gonna expect what is happening, like, at all. Yeah, it was super good. Highly recommend. I hope that my description was a little bit better than Goodreads, but I rated this book 5 out of 5 stars, and my review was super short. I'm not really good at writing reviews on Goodreads. This book was insane. I did not expect the twist at all. It opened up my eyes a lot, learned a lot, and got quite stressed out several times. Great read, which is true. I was very stressed out when reading this book. Not like the bad stress, like the good stress. The one that like keeps you on your toes. And I actually did learn a lot. I learned a lot about cults. I learned a lot about psychology, the way that people think when they're in this type of situation. So the author, I believe she's a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist. She's a trauma psychologist and leading researcher in childhood trauma, which is why I feel like all of her novels are always very just like eye-opening and very interesting, because you learn so much about psychology and the human mind and how people react and their behaviors and just things like that. So anyways, highly recommend this book. I freaking love this book. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this book review video. I really want to create more of these because I love talking all about books. So please comment down below if you guys are interested in seeing more of these. If you guys like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.